Welcome to Jurassic Park.
The most phenomenal discovery of our time becomes the greatest adventure of all time. A Steven Spielberg film. An adventure 65 million years in the making. Jurassic Park.
A British family on a yacht cruise stumbled upon Site B.
Now it's only a matter of time before this lost world is found and pillaged.
That's how it always starts. But then later there's running and then screaming.
What is it?
Mommy's very angry.
The Lost World.
It could almost be paradise, but in this forbidden place, where man has tampered with nature, something unexpected has evolved.
They set a trap. They actually set a trap.
Jurassic Park 3.
Like a velociraptor chasing after you, man. What's going on, guys? Welcome to another Geeking Poetic podcast. This is a retrospective. We haven't done one of these in a little while. A few months.
This is true, yeah.
Yeah, a few months. Last one was what?
May.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The
Mummy.
La Mumia. It was in May, Cinco de Mayo, we discussed La Mumia.
And it surprisingly is doing very well.
Yeah, people seem to really like the Mummy one.
Yeah.
So we're doing it again.
But we're not talking about the Mummy.
No, we're not.
How about a better franchise, in my opinion?
Ooh, them's fighting words.
Vito, don't start yet. I wouldn't say better. Let's say even.
It's different.
Different. They're totally different categories.
That's true, yeah. But would you rather watch Jurassic Park 3 or Tomb of the Emperor?
Oof. Yeah,
3.
that's
Son of a
that's a really good point. Although that being said, without giving away too much, they both have the same thing in common, that their first movies of each of Jurassic Park and The Mummy are the superior ones, I think, and then the other few are just.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
And these particular 3, you would agree with that?
Yeah.
Mr. Sequel Man.
Don't get me wrong, I love the sequels to Jurassic Park, and I love Mummy Returns, but Jurassic Park 1 is one of the greatest movies ever made.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, we thought it was about that time. We unfortunately missed the 25th anniversary because that would have been last year, I think, right?
yeah, because it came out in
93.
93. Yeah.
Right. So we're a little late for that. However, we are timely with this in the fact that they are bringing the original Jurassic Park back to the movie theaters for Labor Day and all that stuff. For Labor Day.
Nice.
It's it's actually going to be showing at Gurney Mills.
Really?
Mm-hmm. It's only showing at certain theaters and stuff. But so it is a little timely. So after you guys watch and listen to this episode, if you're like, man, I want to go see Jurassic Park. Well, guess what? You can. You can go see it. How cool is that? Came out 26 years ago now. And you could go see it at the theater if you want. So there you have it. We're so timely. You know, we're just so timely with our ideas. We're trendsetters.
It's like somebody's reading our mind. We make these decisions, and then halfway through, they're like, surprise. It's timely now. We're doing something with this again.
Surprise, surprise, right between the eyes. Sorry. When I was a kid and I was going to Sunday school, I had this teacher, Sunday school teacher guy that was this priest, father or something, I forget. And he had this song that we all had to sing like in front of like the school, in front of our parents. And for some reason, I still remember that it went something like that. It was like, and then surprise, surprise, right between the eyes. It's baffling to the wise, or something like that. And all I remember about it is that my dad fucking hated it. I remember my dad being like, this is the stupidest ass thing. And my mom was just like, oh, just, you know, whatever. And my dad was just like, you shouldn't even have to do this shit, you know. And I just remember being like, oh yeah, it's pretty dumb. Even as a kid, I was like, this is pretty dumb. And believe me, I liked some dumb stuff. But one thing I liked as a kid that wasn't dumb was dinosaurs.
Mm-hmm.
Who doesn't like dinosaurs as a kid, man?
We should all like dinosaurs. I mean, they're big old bird lizard guys. How can you not love them when you're a kid? The only kids who ended up not loving them so much are the dumbass kids that appear in the Jurassic Park franchise.
Well, that's on their grandpa for even putting them in that situation. It's like, here, let me open this very dangerous park. Let me use my grandkids as guinea pigs. Here we go.
Yeah.
You guys go test it out for the rest of the world.
Yeah, that was pretty stupid. Yeah, it makes you wonder if he just had ulterior motives. He seemed so, John Hammond seemed so nice and Santa Claus-like and everything, but maybe he was just like, I hate these goddamn kids. What's a way I can get rid of them, but make it seem like an accident? I know. Feed them to the fucking dinosaurs.
Well, didn't they make him more lovable in the movie than in the book? Wasn't he more like stringent and businessman and
a little more eccentric billionaire type? Yeah,
okay.
He was supposed to be a little more Howard Hughes-ish.
Okay.
In the book, yeah, that's true. Yeah, well, we should even before we get ahead of ourselves. I mean, I'm sure most people that are going to bother watching this would know, but.
Spoilers.
Yeah. There's going to be a ton of spoilers in this because it is a retrospective. So if you haven't seen these movies or read the books or both or whatever, like, why are you even watching this? Why would you even?
Because they're like you and they want to ruin it for themselves.
Not many people are like me, though, when it comes, well, in a bunch of ways.
But this is also Jurassic Park. If you haven't seen these movies, like, I don't understand you.
Or at least not even know like what's going to happen.
Right?
It's like, rich white people make dinosaurs, bad things happen, people die.
Redo. Do it again.
Redo
and
it.
again.
That is it. Yeah. I mean, well, you just summed it all up. We don't even need to do this anymore.
Yep, we're done.
All right. See you.
Bye.
No, wait, hang on. We're not done. So, anyway, but that is basically the crux of it. But Vito, yeah, I mean, tell us a little bit, because I know you're Mr. Books and stuff. This obviously was not just a invention of Hollywood.
Nope, it's an invention of Michael Crichton, one of my favorite authors.
Yep.
And I actually read this book in 6th or 7th grade, I think. So
Okay.
after the movie came out is when I read this book.
Okay.
And I was surprised about all the stuff that was in the book that was not in the movie.
Oh, tons.
Like pterodactyls, there's like a riverboat scene, and they use some of that in Jurassic Park 3.
Right.
But yeah, a lot of the characters are different. They combine some characters into one character for the movie.
Right.
Like Gennaro, the lawyer, is not like a scumbag who leaves the kids behind. He's actually the one who wants to help the kids and get them to safety. Whereas in the movie, he just abandons them and gets eaten in the fucking porta-john.
That's one of the best parts.
Yeah, it is. It's good. So if you haven't read the book, I highly recommend you read the book. If not, do the audiobook, because Scott Brick does the narration, and Scott Brick is amazing. So get that book right now.
Right now.
Thick as a brick.
Thick as a brick. Now, Jurassic Park 2 or the Lost World book, you can totally skip that book and never read it. You'll be just fine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is the movie enough?
Yeah. I mean, I enjoy watching the movie, but the book's just pretty boring, I think. Tedious. I don't know.
Well, he didn't even want to write the second book, did he?
No, but Spielberg kind of convinced him, and there was, I think a $6 million paycheck in it for him or something like that. So he's like, all right, I guess I'll do it.
And then they kind of like, well, you wrote the book. I'm just going to, you have nothing to do with the movie. So they kind of got rid of Michael Crichton's.
Because Spielberg was
after
like
that.
dead set to make a sequel, obviously, because
Made
first
him
one
money.
was, right. I mean, it's like $1 billion movie or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that was a biggie.
yeah.
Big as a brontosaurus.
Wasn't it like the biggest movie for years before until Titanic?
Probably.
It could have been. Yeah, I think you might be right about that. But yeah, the original book, Jurassic Park, came out in 1990, I believe. Does that sound right?
89 or 90, yeah, something like that.
Yeah, it wasn't long before, as soon as it came out.
I think it was 90 because the movie came out in 93, right?
Yep. And a fun fact, the Carnosaur novel came out before Jurassic Park.
For as much as Vito is just generally a dinosaur fan, and he's a pretty big Jurassic Park fan, he is a much, much more fervent follower of the, I don't even know, colorful movie series that is known as Carnosaur. How many Carnosaur movies are there?
Technically, there's
30.
No, there's 5, but 3 have the name Carnosaur in them. Number 4 is called Raptor, and they basically just took scenes from the first 3 and then filmed an additional 15 or 20 minutes of like original footage, and they spliced it together to make another movie. Then there's a movie called The Eden Formula, which is basically certain scenes from the Carnosaur movies spliced again into a movie where they filmed a bunch of other stuff.
Wow.
It's Roger Corman, man. What do you...
Yeah, good old Roger Corman. I like some Roger Corman films, but I don't exactly expect like primo quality out of them. They're just more entertaining in that Roger Corman kind of way. Oh, Vito, you and your Carnosaur.
They're great, man. Give them a shot.
Yeah, well,
yeah, we're gonna have to one day.
Yeah,
bite
we
the
will.
bullet
No,
and
we
watch
will.
'em.
We will. That's going to be something we'll do as a feature down the line, is we're going to have to force each other to watch a series that the other two are like, oh God, and then see if we feel any differently about it. Maybe. Yeah, we'll see. But in any case, yeah, this was, as you already mentioned, this was a Steven Spielberg production. He directed it, right?
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
Back in those days. Does he still direct movies anymore? Or is he pretty much just like sticking to production, like being the executive producer kind of thing?
Did he do that Super 8 movie with the kids in the train and the alien? Was that him, or you produced that?
I'm not sure, but even that, I mean, that's not exactly a new movie.
yeah, that's at least 10 years old or something.
Yeah, it came out a while ago, Vito. So, yeah, I was meaning like in the last 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't.
He has nothing else. Well, he might say he has stuff to prove, but I don't think
say
he has anything to prove. About what he has to make.
Spielberg's like, I got nothing left to prove. I got nowhere else to go. Sorry, that's Richard Gere. An Officer and a Gentleman. Way off the beaten path from this. This movie, I don't remember if you told us or not. Did you see this in the theater?
4 times.
4 times.
Wow.
Dude, it blew my fucking mind. I was, 11 years old, I think?
Yeah. Man, Jurassic Park being a brand new thing when you're 11 years old.
That's prime target audience right there.
Yeah. Even my nephews now, they're 7 and 12, and we saw Jurassic World, the new one, and they were like, holy shit, this is crazy,
Yeah.
So it has an effect on kids, man.
It sure
Dinosaurs.
does. Well, it's dinosaurs come to life. I mean, how can you beat it? That's another thing we should mention real quick before we continue on, is that we are just going to talk about the Jurassic Park trilogy here. Because people are going to be like, oh, well, Jurassic World and Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. We may mention that kind of in passing, but we're going to save those for another episode.
Yeah, they deserve their own.
Yeah.
Because they're their own,
retrospectives.
and they're a trilogy as well. So
Right. We got to wait for the third one to come out.
Yeah.
Right. So we're going to kind of wait on our retrospective of that. We're just going to focus on the original 3. And what about you, Meg? When did you see this? Do you remember when you first saw Jurassic Park?
I probably rented it or saw it on TV at some point.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly when, but it wasn't in the theater because I'm lame and didn't go to the movie a lot until recently.
I was just going to say, back then you didn't. Yeah.
Back then I did
Because
not.
you were only 13 too.
Yeah,
So
and I lived in Oklahoma out in the country, and yeah.
Right. It wasn't exactly like you could just jump in the car.
Yeah, I couldn't just walk down the sidewalk to the movie theater and stuff. I have to
Right.
Yeah.
Drive 2 hours. And...
Yeah. it was a whole production just to get there. So
Right. And so in 1993, I was 20 years old. So I was a full-grown adult that could take my ass to the movie theater. And I did. I went and saw it at the theater, but I only saw it once. Yeah, I really liked it. I wasn't completely as blown away with it as like a lot of other people were. But I take that back. I was blown away with it. I didn't become like as fervent of a fan of it like you did, because you were like a big time fan of it. I enjoyed it, but being older, I wasn't like all like totally smitten with
Yeah.
dinosaurs and stuff quite as much. But I was completely blown away with the way this movie looked.
Yeah.
And the CG and everything for the time. And
Yeah, I was watching, I wish I could remember who it was now, some video prepping for this. And he was saying, like, comparing this first movie to the other two movies. And it's the angles.
I saw that same video, Megan.
Yeah, the angles that they used, like, made the humans look so small and the dinosaurs so big.
right.
It was awe-inspiring and stuff. In the other movies, they didn't do that. They made the humans and stuff on the same plane as the dinosaurs, and it wasn't as big.
Impressive.
Yeah.
Impressive.
You didn't
and
get that
everything.
scale of these things are larger than life, really.
Right.
Or that you were going to be dinosaur poop. Yeah, because they were going to eat your ass up.
And it's funny just how something that simple can make the world of difference.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. In the first movie, when you had scenes like that, when they would show something like T-Rex next to a human, as compared to then in the third movie, like there, when they're all in the airplane and stuff. And that's, I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't look as impressive.
It doesn't nearly look as impressive. Yeah.
And like here, see how the human's like very at the very bottom?
Yeah.
Because like the camera is way down looking up. It makes the dinosaur look so much bigger.
Yeah. Yeah, I exactly. The level of expertise in the filmmaking of that first movie was amazing. Now, that's not to say there aren't impressive aspects to Lost World and Jurassic 3. Because there was some pretty cool scenes in those too. So it was in 3, I believe, was with the pterodactyls, right?
Yeah.
Dude, yeah.
I love those pterodactyls.
That was cool. That whole scene with the bridge and everything and the pterodactyl. Yeah. I mean,
and even the plane crash scene with the Spinosaurus or whatever it's called, and the way they switch from miniature to practical effect is like seamless. It's very, very cool, man.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, that is the one thing before we get into like really dissecting, critically 1, 2, and 3 here. I do think that all 3 of them stand up pretty well, even with those little changes, those things you mentioned, noted. I do think they all stand up really well as just being visually amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so here's a question to put to you guys. In the 90s, I mean, the 90s were all about trilogies and stuff. We had Matrix, we had this, we had so many different ones. And then other ones that went beyond trilogy, even like Terminator, et cetera, et cetera. Do you think that Jurassic Park visually is the most compelling of all of them? Because I do. I'm not saying they're better than Terminator or better than Aliens or better than Matrix, although I do think they are better than Matrix. I like the Matrix a lot, and we'll be talking about the Matrix. But
that's a good contender, though, for that.
But, I mean, Matrix really broke a lot of new ground. But I look at Matrix now, and I look at some of the stuff they do, and I'm like, it's dated, and some stuff was just overdone, and some stuff was, compared to what they've done with it since then, some stuff just now you look at Matrix and you can't help but look at it and go, okay, impressive for the time, but compared to what they do 20 years later, it's no contender.
Yeah.
But I watch these movies, I watch Jurassic Park, and every now and then there's a scene that I'm like, nah, that looks a little weak. But most of all, I'm not taken out of the story, which that is
impressive.
something.
25 years later.
Yeah, that's something to say for a movie that's over 25 years old that has that kind of visual effects and stuff. Because there's very few that you can say, oh, I'm not taken out of it. You could. I mean, think about things even like what Lucas, Spielberg's old buddy Lucas did later with Star Wars prequels 1, 2, and 3, and you look at that, and I mean, there's tons of times in that, and that's a fantasy movie. That's not even based in reality, But there's tons of times in those movies that I get taken out of the story because I look at the special effects and the cinematography. cinematography of it, and I go, oh yeah, man, oh,
Yeah.
that looks bad, or oh, that's so cheesy, or oh, that's ridiculous, or whatever. But I don't feel that way about this.
Because the Star Wars and those other movies relied heavily on the CG of the 90s.
Yeah.
That's not going to hold up. Jurassic Park mixed practical with CGI, and they edited it together in a way where sometimes it was a seamless transition.
Right.
Sure, some of the dinosaur, like the Gallimimus run in the first one, some of that looks
yeah,
a little bad. Not really, but still a little bit. But overall, man, the T-Rex, when that massive foot comes down, that's a
Right.
practical effect.
Right.
It's a huge fucking head in the Jeep. I mean, that's just brilliant, man. I love that stuff.
And see, I think that's the way movies should be made.
Yeah.
I'm not anti-CG by any means. I think computer graphics are fucking awesome. But I think it's when you use it responsibly, you know?
If you use the CG to enhance something,
Right.
then it's better than creating 100% a 3D model that is not going to hold up in 10 years or whatever, you know?
And you should, you know, I mean, you know, to quote Dr. Malcolm, I mean, to kind of somewhat quote him, you know, the problem that happened later after this was that I think that movies like this opened everybody's eyes to go, holy shit, look what you can do with CG. And they jumped on it and were like, well, we can do this, we can do this, we can do all this like stuff. And it's like, and to quote Goldblum, it's like, you know,
you can.
Just because you can, you never stop to ask yourselves whether you should. And that really is it, because it's like it got to the point where I think so many people went, well, we could just do it in CG. We'll just do it. And it's like, okay, but should you? Should you do that? Yes, you can make a giant dinosaur foot on a computer screen and everything and just put it in there. And okay, cool. But is that going to be better than if you made this giant practical effect and have it come stomping down and have people really go, oh, like, feel that, like that's there, like that is right there by that Jeep, by Sam Neill, and every, like, holy shit, that's, yeah. So.
And the sound design sells every fucking scene, dude.
The sound. And especially in that first one.
I mean, that Tyrannosaur roar is scary, dude. I'm just getting chills right now just thinking that roar, man. It's
well, one of the most famous scenes ever, but especially just in this franchise, is of course the whole scene with the T-Rex stomping, you know, with his footsteps and the shaking water and the in the Jeep and all that kind of stuff. And I mean, that was one of those, I remember seeing that the first time at the theater. I specifically remember that the first time because everybody in the theater is real quiet, you know? And I just remember that feeling. Everybody in the room, you could just tell everybody was just like holding
their breath.
Yep. It's just like, oh shit. Because you know it's coming. You've been waiting for it to come. You know, it's already how many, 40 minutes into the movie or whatever it is. You're just waiting for that to come. And the way they build that up, and
it's brilliant, man.
And it's all sound because you literally don't see anything. They're sitting in pitch blackness.
Spielberg's so good at that stuff, man. I mean, he's like the master.
Well, yeah, people like to, kind of pick on him. Anytime you get that big and famous, people are going to like lampoon you and make fun of you and, pick you apart. But Spielberg is the man,
yeah, dude.
So many of my favorite movies of all time are Spielberg. And, just like with music, where sometimes you kind of feel like admitting, it's kind of like somebody who said, you want to go for the more indie stuff or the little bit more left of center things to be like, those are my favorites, because then you feel like it's more cool. It's like with music, if you're like, oh, my favorite artists of all time are Metallica and Van Halen, and and everybody's like, oh boy, okay, radio boy, like pick the most obvious ones. I'm sorry, man. Spielberg and his movies, they're that big and popular for a reason, because they just are better than, Close Encounters, E.T., this, other Schindler's List.
You're listening to the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, home to hundreds of hours of free podcast entertainment. The shows on this network all have a common goal: providing you with the best discussions about movies and other forms of entertainment media. The PFPN hopes to fill your earholes with audio joy. Visit our website with links to all the other amazing shows at www.thepffpn.com. Thanks for listening.
Well, speaking of sound and sound effects and stuff, another amazing thing about this, of course, is the score. Incredible score by John Williams, of course.
I had the cassette tape
Yeah.
for Christmas. I got it one year, and I would play it constantly.
Yeah.
I just love that theme music, dude. So good.
That's one I would love to sit down and maybe do an episode about even sometime, is talk about soundtracks.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because there's so many great soundtracks, and this is one of them. You know, it's the music, the way it builds up tension, the way it's done. I mean, again, it's Johnny Williams. He's incredible. So, you had mentioned earlier, I looked at it a moment ago. You had mentioned earlier talking about money, like how much it had made and everything. So, putting this into perspective, so it cost them $63 million, which was expensive at the time. $63 million to make this movie. Upon its original release, it made $914 million.
Holy shit.
Wow.
And that's early 90s money, okay? $914
That's
million.
incredible.
All right. Ready for this? They re-released it later in 3D, okay? You remember that? And then proceeded to make over $1 billion.
Just on the 3D version?
Yup.
No.
Yup. Dude. Yeah, man.
Wow.
Jurassic Park is big bank money, son. Big money, big money. God damn, this franchise is big money. So you put that kind of into perspective now when you were talking about, like, well, goddamn, Spielberg made Crichton write a second one. It's like, fucking of course he did. You know? Made a lot of money, man. Yeah. I mean, and this was, like you said, pre-Titanic, pre-Avatar, pre-Matrix, all that kind of stuff. So that's big bucks. Talk a little bit about the cast of the original. What do you think of that cast?
Brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Laura Dern, who can be kind of hit or miss sometimes.
She was great in this.
Yeah.
Her mother was great in Carnosaur as well.
Oh, my God. Did they really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Corman. Wow. But yeah, no, she was cast perfectly for it and stuff. In the book, they made her sound a little bit more like sexy, shapely, kind of, you know, paleontologist.
Yeah.
You kind of get the impression that she was supposed to be a real stunner. Not saying there's anything wrong with Laura Dern. I think she's a good-looking woman, but
they amped it up in the book because it's a Michael Crichton book.
Yeah, so. Right, exactly.
Well, she did have a way of making khaki shorts look pretty goddamn good.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the movies.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not complaining. I'm just saying they made her sound a little bit more you know, vavoom in the book and stuff.
Gotcha.
And Sam Neill, you know, I mean, he's perfect for the role. I can't one of those guys that just owned the role.
Yeah.
And then of
loved
course
him both in the first and the third one.
Yeah,
for
really
sure. Good.
Yeah, he was one of the redeeming factors of the third one for me. Because, oh boy, we'll get to that in a minute. It's not all bad, but and then of course, the triumvirate is of course Dr. Malcolm, Mr. Jeff Goldblum, with his masculine chest. I know I have the picture here somewhere. Oh man, I mean, and that whole thing with Goldblum and the chest out and everything, that's just become such a gag now.
Yeah.
Like, if they could have only known back how, 25 years ago about memes. There's old Jeffy. I love that. Yeah. Speaking of memes, that's right from one right there. But perfect for that role. Because when I read the book, And you think of how arrogant he was and his whole demeanor and stuff in the book, and then you see Goldblum play it. You're like, oh, yeah. I think anyway, because sometimes in books, like I said, like you kind of go, oh, that's not the way I pictured him. I pictured him to be more like this. No, he's Dr. Malcolm.
Yeah,
dude.
for sure.
Yeah, I don't know. Anything more you want to say about this first one? You got some tidbits to say before we move on and start talking about the lesser sequel.
It is a lesser sequel, but it's still enjoyable to watch.
That's the only big thing that matters, really.
Yeah, I suppose. But, we move on to the next one, which is...
The Lost World. I wonder where he got that name from.
Why? Because of the old...
Sir Arthur Conan Doyle.
Right.
I mean, that's where he says
right.
he got it from that. But
Right. Yeah.
They actually, side note, they did make some Lost World Sir Arthur Conan Doyle movies with,
yes.
What's his name? Gimli.
Oh, yeah, with
John Rhys Davies.
Right, I was going to say, Sala.
Yeah, and Peter Falk is in some of them, too.
Oh, jeez. Peter Falk and John Rhys Davies.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever watched any of those.
Yeah, they made 2 or maybe 3 of them back in like the late 90s. I rented them from Blockbuster.
Okay.
I enjoyed them. They were kind of cool.
Okay, so he made Michael Crichton write the second book, but didn't he only use like 2 scenes out of the whole book? The cliff scene, and I can't remember what the other one was.
God.
He like completely rewrote everything.
Well, for first of all, Ian Malcolm, he died in the book in the first one.
Right.
So he comes back, obviously, because he had to come back. So that was a little weird. So if you went from the first book to the second book, you'd be like, oh, wait a minute, that dude's dead. How did he come alive? They also nuked the island in the first one.
Well, this is the second island, isn't it?
Yeah. So this is it Isla Sorna? So apparently this is where they actually made the dinosaurs. And Isla Nublar was just a front.
And then there's...
Yeah, I never quite understood how the dinosaurs got to the second island. I missed that somehow.
Yeah, so apparently that's where they bred them and made the dinosaurs, but then they just transported some
park
eggs.
Was at,
to make it look like that's where they made the dinosaurs.
Oh,
gotcha. Okay.
And then there's La Isla Bonita. The place that Madonna speaks of. La Isla Bonita.
Oh, jeez.
Mike Feldman's favorite Madonna song.
Really?
Yeah. Hell's wrong with you, dude? Yeah, so this one came out. When did this came out in 97?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So it was a good 4 years later, which is a pretty long wait in those days, Did you see this one in the theater when it came out?
I'm sure I did.
What about you, Meg?
Nope.
Yeah, I didn't see this one in the theater. I waited until it was on
VHS. Home video.
Yeah, home video. And was disappointed, to say the least. Yeah, say the least. Aside from the fact that, like you said, it was... I read the Jurassic Park novel. I didn't read Lost World. That I recall. I read some of it late. I read it later, but like before the movie or around it. I had no idea what it was going to be, but it was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. That's different.
The one redeeming quality for me in the book is there's this chameleon dinosaur that's really cool. Yeah. So I thought that was really awesome. But besides that, I don't know, man.
Would you say it was a comedian dinosaur? It was like... Take my Stegosaurus, please. It's a comedian. Never mind. Anyway. Yeah. Okay. Look, it's just gonna be too easy for me to bag on this movie. I got to think of some like redeeming factors and stuff.
Vince Vaughn was great in it.
You think so?
I
really?
Yeah, I liked him in it. All right, fine. I'm on
the
my
scene
own,
on
I
the
guess.
boat when he's talking to that Spanish guy. Not these islands. He says they're the islands of death. There's just this weird delivery during that part that I
agree. I agree. I think a lot of the acting and stuff in this movie is right. Are you with me? Right. Exactly. Now, Julianne Moore, who I'm normally a big fan of. I really like Julianne Moore, and she's in some of my favorite movies, like Boogie Nights and stuff like that. She does an okay job in this. She's okay. But compared to Laura Dern's character, who is, she's, I think, a fairly strong character and a fairly strong woman, and she's intelligent, and you know what I mean, and all that. And I thought she was a good character. I felt like they made her Moore's character kind of obnoxious and just a little bit too ignorant. And that is a big problem I have with all of the following Jurassic movies, is there's too much ignorance for what they ought to know better now. Like, I buy it in the first movie because this was all brand new and they were all basically hit with this. They didn't know what they were going to see. They didn't know what to expect. They didn't know any of it. So, all things considered, I think that the cast in the first movie handled everything as well as they could. Now we get to the next movie and Julianne Moore just kind of has this very cavalier attitude about the whole thing and is like, I know, because Goldblum was her boyfriend or whatever. Oh, yeah, I know you've been telling me for years now about how you almost died and you had all these wounds and everything, but I figured you were just full of shit. This isn't that big of a deal. Like, look, I don't know. Like, that's just such a obvious movie trope.
It's funny to me how she's been fine all this time, and then they all show up and all hell breaks loose.
Yeah. Well, again, obvious movie trope number 2.
But Malcolm knew, don't go to the island, stay in the fucking van, don't make noise. It's just all these other idiots who it's their first time. They don't,
Right.
Same thing in the third one.
Right, in the third one, but at least in the third one, there is a stupid but valid reason for why they're going to the island. It isn't about just human hubris, you know what I mean? Saying like, oh, fuck these dinosaurs. Yeah, we know it. It just wreaked havoc 4 years ago or whatever, but it ain't gonna happen again. It's like, what are you talking about? Of course it's gonna happen again. But in the third one, at least, there's a little bit of a different reason why they're going there and stuff. But we'll get to that in a minute. Let's just talk as much as we need to about the second one. I remember when I watched it, I did think that I had a love-hate relationship with the whole idea of them bringing the Rex back to American shores and everything. It was like kind of cool and kind of ridiculous. You know what I mean? Like
it's fucking King Kong. That's what this movie is.
Right. but again, King Kong, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, that was ridiculous too, I suppose. But I mean, King Kong, like, again, I could buy the hubris that people thought in that movie that they could handle it and what they were planning on doing. I just felt like the whole way they handled it, even like the whole thing with, the thing went crazy on the ship. And it's like, what did you think was going to happen? There was just so much about the second one that I was just like, of course, what did you think was going to happen? There was nothing shocking to me. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but you're forgetting something.
What?
People are fucking stupid.
Well, okay, fair
and all they're
enough.
seeing is money, 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 money. How can I make money?
Yeah, and I get it, and that's true. And again, that's another typical movie trope. And I feel like they beat that one to death in the Jurassic series. Is the whole thing is that like we joked at the beginning of this episode, rich, greedy, whoever, whether they are an eccentric that just wants to do something amazing for the world like John Hammond did, or if it's like these other people that, their rich, spoiled offspring, nephew that wants that's taking over the company and just sees dollar signs and all this kind of stuff. It's like, I don't know. Like they do that too much. It gets to be too much. The only one, and again, I know we're not really talking about it, but the only one where I buy it and I'm like, okay, I buy this premise is the fourth movie, Jurassic World. That one I buy it because at least at that point they acknowledge all the mistakes of the past. They discuss it. It actually gets brought up to the point where they're even like, when the one guy's wearing a Jurassic Park shirt and Bryce Dallas Howard is like, is that, you really think that's in good taste? Think about everything that happened with that. We're trying to like erase those mistakes and start over. And it still goes wrong, it still goes wrong because they're still stupid, and ultimately it does still come down to, well, your greed and hubris ended up causing, because you had to make this new kind of dinosaur that went crazy, blah blah blah. But I could at least buy that premise that there's like, okay, they tried learning, and now there's like, and the government is involved and really watching them and and it felt more real. Like it felt more realistic, the premise of that one. But Lost World, Jurassic 3 to some degree, and then especially Fallen Kingdom. I'm like, you're just it's the same thing again. Like Fallen Kingdom is literally just now basically kind of telling the same story as Lost World, right?
With some cloning in there.
Yeah, well, and then we throw stupid cloning, like subplots that don't, that his daughter was cloned, or now pretending to be his granddaughter. Spoilers.
Yeah. Like big spoiler there.
Yeah, but all this kind of stuff, and it's like, and it had no bearing on the story at all.
Yeah, and it came up at the last 5 minutes. You're like, what? Wait a minute, who? I was like, I guess.
He's like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
You could, so she could press the button. And
I was just gonna say, it was all just so that she would have the wherewithal to let the dinosaurs go, because she's like, I'm a clone like them. It's like, what? Really? You
doomed all mankind, you stupid little bitch. Fuck.
Yeah. So, anyway, as far as Lost World, positive things, that whole aforementioned cliff scene. With the Jeep over the side of the cliff and on all that, and the winch and all, that's probably the best scene of the whole
guy getting
movie.
Ripped in half by the two T-Rexes. Oh, wow. That was a good one.
That's a good one. Yeah.
The raptors going through the tall grass scene, that was really awesome.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, it's got, okay, Lost World has its moments that are just entertainment, a little bit like, digging your nails into the couch kind of thing, But other than that, in terms of a story, in terms of it really furthering the franchise, I don't know, man. After something so amazing as Jurassic Park, I expected better. You guys agree with me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, real quick before we move on, to bring up a couple other things of note, I do think that there were some additional dinosaurs that they showed in the second one and stuff. There was cool scenes, some cute ones, like your Stegosaurus, which is your favorite.
Yeah, my Stegosaurus. They're a cute little family with their baby.
I was so happy when I first saw this and they were on screen. I was like, finally, a fucking Stegosaurus, man. It's good stuff.
But another thing that I want to mention is, and correct me if I'm wrong because it's been a while, doesn't The Lost World, the movie, begin with the beginning of Jurassic Park, the novel, with that family dining on the island, vacationing on the island with the little kid that gets attacked by all those little...
That may be that. Well, no, because that's in the first novel, right?
What? Yeah.
That scene, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the first scene of the novel of the original Jurassic Park book. But they didn't use that for the movie. Instead, they opened Jurassic Park, the movie, basically with the whole shoot her scene when they're trying to feed the dinosaur.
Which was a brilliant opening, dude.
Absolutely.
Because it just sets you up like, what the fuck are we going to see, man?
Yeah.
And then they don't show you.
Like
and they don't show you for a long time.
Right.
Whereas in The Lost World, we have 5 minutes of Malcolm going to see Hammond, and all of a sudden, boom, Sarah's in the fucking flock of Stegosauruses. You're like, wait, how did we get... Yeah. Okay, I guess we're in the movie now.
Yeah.
There's like no build up to it. It's just like fucking blow your load right now, and then,
But I was excited to see when I first saw it. I was like, oh, that's I know this because it's from the first book. It's like, oh, weird. Like, is this a prequel? Like, I didn't know if they were doing some sort of prequel-y kind of thing, but no, they just tacked it on to Lost World, you know.
Wasn't them running in the riverbed in that first novel as well? And they used it in this one?
The first novel had them evading a T-Rex in like a lifeboat down the river, which they sort of and hodgepodge it into the third one at the end.
It's the third one?
Yeah,
Okay,
sort of.
I'm
Where they're in
thinking
the
of.
boat and that Spinosaurus dinosaurs chase them. So they kind of stole some of that. Same with the pterodactyls. That's in the first novel, and they put it in the third film.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think it is time. It's time to move on to the last movie we're going to talk about, the third part of the trilogy, known as simply
Jurassic Park 3.
Yeah. Now, this movie
is excellent.
Really?
Dude.
I really enjoyed this one too.
I love this movie.
Really?
Love this movie. Yeah.
Okay.
I was working at Toys R Us when this movie was coming out, and we got the toys. And I just remember looking at them and going, holy shit, they're making another Jurassic Park movie. I cannot wait to go see this. And I did go see it in the theater by myself because no one else wanted to go see this movie with me because they said that's a fucking terrible idea.
It kind of was, man.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, well, okay. So, first of all right, so Jurassic Park 3, it came out in 2001, right? Late 2001.
Yeah, something like that.
Not too long before you joined November's Doom.
Correct, yeah.
As you were still at the toy store when you joined the band.
Yeah, I was, I quit in 2003, and I would have been in the band for about a year at that point.
Yeah. I mean, and it had no bearing on Vito getting hired into November's Doom, the fact that he worked in the band.
And that Larry wanted Lord of the Rings figures that only came out of Toys R Us during that time. It had no bearing whatsoever on me joining.
Not at all. Not at all. It did a little
And then
bit.
shortly after, I was like, Larry, I'm actually quitting at Toys R Us. I'm not going to be working there anymore. And Larry's like,
nice knowing you. You quit.
Well, I got nobody else lined up.
Yeah. No, I didn't blame you because even though I never worked at Toys R Us, I knew enough about Toys R Us. I was like, yeah, I could see why you didn't do that, you know. But anyway, this came out in 2001, and it wasn't directed by Spielberg. Spielberg was out at this point. It was what was his name? Joe Johnston.
Yep.
And all things considered, he did okay. It's all right. It's at least a step up for me from Lost World.
I think this is a much superior film to the second one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'll agree with that. But it doesn't even come close to the first film.
Oh, no. Nothing will. I don't think I ever.
Still good.
Yeah, but for Sequel Man over here, he's probably like, but it's pretty goddamn close. See?
Yeah, I'm not going to go that far.
No, but it
was really enjoyable.
Yeah.
I thought.
Yeah.
Flaws and all.
Yeah.
And it has its flaws. That's for damn sure. So the premise of this one is that they get Sam Neill and his character back to the island. Which, of course, if you know enough about his character from before, he's like, there's no way in hell I'm going back to that island. And the whole premise is that he gets lured back there under the false pretenses that he's just giving them like an aerial guided tour. And then comes to find out that he's actually going to be landing there and going on a search and rescue mission because a divorced couple, of all things, lost their son and the new boyfriend, fiance, whatever, when they were parasailing off the coast and everything.
Because it's a brilliant idea.
Well, and that's again where I get into the whole, oh, come on. Like this movie in particular, even more, as much as this is a better movie than the second one, this movie, it's just like Sam Neill and a bunch of stupid motherfuckers. I'm not saying that I have anything against the actors themselves, because William H. Macy, who plays the divorced dad, and then Téa Leoni, who plays the divorced mother, they're fine actors. I like Macy in particular.
Oh, yeah.
I like him a lot.
Really
He's great in a lot of things. Another another Boogie Nights alumnus. That's last movie we had Julianne Moore. Now we've got Little Bill, William H. Macy, and who he was amazing in that. But they're so fucking obnoxious. That married couple is so obnoxious.
Yeah, they are.
That I literally was like,
please die.
I was like, oh, I hope they die. I hope they get eaten. And I get what they were trying to do. And I can appreciate the idea that they were trying to add this other element. Like I said, it was nice. It was a double-edged sword. It was nice that it wasn't just the typical greedy rich people are going there to get the dinosaurs and bring them back, even though they should fucking know better. It was nice that that was not the main crux of it, and that they went for a more down-to-earth, I guess, reason. It's like they're just there to save their son. They don't give a shit about the dinosaurs. They just want to get in, find him, get out.
Mm-hmm.
But they, I just didn't care about their story. They kept trying to shoehorn in the whole thing about, like, them bickering like a typical divorced couple would bicker and all this kind of stuff. And again, sometimes it was okay. It played for laughs. But a lot of times I was just like, really? Like, you're on a dinosaur island, like, threatened of being killed, like, every 5 seconds here. And you guys are, like, bitching about, like, well, what about that car you bought? And it's like, that's why I left you. And I'm like, okay, look, I'm not saying there aren't people out there that are really that petty and lame, but I don't really want to watch them on screen for 2 hours. And I don't want to watch them on screen for 2 hours if they don't get fucking eaten by a goddamn T-Rex. And then the little kid, then they finally show the kid and everything. They reunite with him and stuff, and you just kind of get the feeling that this kid is like, I was better off on the island.
Yeah, he was doing pretty good for himself.
He was a survivalist.
Yeah, man.
Again, everything was fine. They all showed up.
Right. He was like, I was doing pretty goddamn good.
Got these smoke bombs here. I'm good, man.
Got these smoke bombs. I got these cheeseburgers. Meg's like, I don't even know what that is. I got these cheeseburgers. Oh, man, forget it. That's a whole other movie we got to talk about. But in any case, yeah, he's got his little bunker and everything. And that was kind of cool, the idea that he was being rescued by a guy who was kind of like a hero of his because he had read the Sam Neill's books and all that kind of stuff.
Much like the kid in the first book.
Yeah.
Or the first movie.
Yeah.
The little boy.
Yeah. I also, I really liked the way they did add in Laura Dern's character in kind of like a small supporting role.
Here's what she's up to. She's got a kid and she's married and all this stuff.
Yeah, I really liked what she was doing and stuff in there. And it's cast well. I'll give you that. It's definitely more exciting of a movie for me.
With dinosaur fights and stuff.
Yeah,
I think it's
so cool.
But
the whole plane chase, I thought the plane crash scene was great. Them taking off and the guy gets fucking eaten right when they're going up and his blood splatters. The plane stuff is great. But I guess the main thing about this movie, okay, I guess I have to be fair. I'm gonna turn around. You've turned me around a little bit, guys.
Woohoo. Good job, Vito.
Right.
I have to be fair. The biggest problem is that watching this movie and holding it up to the first one. And
yeah, you can't do that.
No, you can't do that.
I know, but you can't help but do that because it is a sequel and it's got Laura Dern, it's got Sam Neill. It's, you know what I mean? It's building off of that. And so many things, all the aforementioned things we discussed, the CG not being done quite in the cinematography, not being done quite as great. And it does show. And then we got to address the 800-pound elephant in the room, which was the Dream Raptor, otherwise known as the Dream Raptor.
We're the Dream Raptors.
Oh my God. And if people don't know what I'm talking about, there's a scene in the movie. It's early in the movie, which was a problem for me because it kind of
you can't do that to Larry. That 15 minutes in, man, he'll just check out on you.
It sort of set the mood for the rest of it when Sam Neill's apparent. You don't realize he's dreaming. He's sleeping on the plane ride to the island, and somebody yells out, "Alan!" And then he looks, and there is a raptor with a human voice saying, "Alan!" It's funny as fuck, but
it signifies that he's still having nightmares and
post-traumatic.
Yeah.
Okay, but they shouldn't have had the raptor say, "Alan!" Like they should have, like he should have heard like a noise and then turn and
like the alien where he comes up to his face. He's like, "Ah."
Yeah.
Has that been better?
Dude, no. You know what it reminds me of, Vito? You're not gonna know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. You know what it reminds me of? Holy shit! It reminds me of fucking
Mega Shark.
When that guy's flying in that airplane over the ocean, and then he looks out the window and he goes, "Holy shit!" And then all of a sudden they show that giant.
This shark jumps like 20,000 feet in the air and jumps a fucking plane. It's brilliant, dude.
That movie is a piece of garbage. It's worth watching just for that one scene. But you expect it from a movie like Mega Shark versus Giant Octopus, okay? It's called Mega Shark versus Giant Octopus, for fuck's sake. Okay? This is Jurassic Park 3. That's what I'm saying. Like, he could have woken up and there could have just been a raptor there that like hissed at him, and be, like wake up. Yeah. And then you'd literally be like, "Oh my God," like that would have been a great precursor to what was to come. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Instead, they played it for like any if they were supposed to be like, no, it was supposed to be shocking. It's like, dude, really? That was shocking. That made me, the first time I saw that, I literally laughed out loud. I was like, that was like a rewind it 3 times. Like, no, they did not do that. It just, yeah. And it did kind of, because this movie, even though the other movies had humorous points to it, this movie felt more like slap on the back, funny kind of thing. A lot of the William H. Macy stuff and everything, was supposed to be like, "Oh, look at this bumbling fool," and I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I know we had what's his face. We had Newman in the first movie, who was kind of, but even him, for as goofy as he is, Wayne Knight. Even for as goofy as his character was and everything, like he was sinister. He was a bastard. He was a shitty little bastard, man. And the way, so even though he was bumbling and stuff, it was different. Same with some of the characters in the second one. This one, if we took the third movie and just trimmed it down, a lot of that extraneous stuff of like the couple having their conversations and bickering and various things like that. Some of the stuff with the rest of the camp, the other guys that were there to go with them,
muscle or whatever.
Whatever you want to call it. And most of them get fucking
taken out
like right away, and it was just like, okay, what was the point of that? I don't know.
Dude, raptors. That's all I got to say. How fucking awesome was all the raptor stuff?
Okay.
The communication, the language that they had together, like they worked together more so than in the first one. I just love the expansion of that, That's why I love this movie so much, is all the raptor stuff. I just find it so fascinating. Even though, as we come to find out, that's not what raptors were like. But still.
Why don't you bring that? I know we talk about that in the other thing too, but why don't you bring that up?
So Megan went through some notes for our audio cast, and she found out that velociraptors are only, 2 feet tall? Or were 2 feet tall?
They're just tiny little guys.
Disappointing.
I know, there's tiny little turkeys, feathered turkeys.
That sucks. Like I said in the autocast, Carnosaur got it right, because the Deinonychus dinosaur is what the Velociraptor is in these movies, and Carnosaur has them in their movies.
Who knew?
Once again,
things you learn.
Carnosaur gets the science right when Jurassic Park doesn't. Now, how crazy is that?
Twilight Zone.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, It's funny. Anything that gets Vito to be able to like get up on his soapbox about Carnosaur just brings me joy.
It brings me joy too, man.
Here's the thing. Like, my criticisms of the third movie are legit, but that being said, I think that the positives of the third movie do outweigh the negatives. It's just that the negatives tend to stick in my craw a little bit. You know, this isn't like gonna surprise anybody out there, but as drawing a comparison of how times had changed, not just in the quality of the movie itself and stuff, but the public's interest in it comparatively, because you figure the third movie came out almost 10 years later.
Yeah.
Nearly a decade. So it took them basically a decade to put out this trilogy. By the time this third one came out, now this movie cost even more to make. Now, again, there's inflation and stuff, too, because you talk about this movie was made how many years later. But this movie cost even more to make than the first Jurassic Park movie. I think this movie was, it was $93 million to make. Okay. However, it made $368 million. So
that's still pretty good. Not the first one good, but that's still pretty goddamn good.
Well, it's a success.
Mm-hmm.
But it isn't. I mean, the way it works in the business is if your first movie in a franchise makes $1 billion and then your third movie makes like
a third of that,
that's considered a fucking failure, kid. It just is, you know. And so with that basically signified like the end of this. You know, it was like, okay, we're done. That's it. Obviously, we're not going to capture lightning in the bottle twice with this. We put out these 2 sequels. We even brought back Dern and Neil and all this other kind of stuff, and some other bigger names in here and all this. And Kathleen Kennedy still was producing, executive producing it, blah, blah, blah. And they just couldn't do it. So they decided that, well, okay, the public's over it. We'll move on. And then, what was it, in 2015? I believe it was 2014, 2015.
I think it was later than that. No, 2016 maybe.
Was it? No, I thought it was 2015.
Was it?
But we finally got another sequel, which to me worked better. I love the fact that they actually acknowledged it as being that much time. You know, they didn't just try to, even though this movie was made 20 years after the original one, you know, it's only been 5 years or something like that. Like, I love the fact that they acknowledge that it's like it's been 20 years and stuff, you know, things are different. We got Jurassic World, which, again, we're not going to get into it and stuff, but I think is a wonderful movie.
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot.
I loved it. And everything, and people obviously were ready finally for it to come back, but
because they were talking about Jurassic Park 4 like in the mid 2000s, and I saw some leaked scripts and photos, and I was like, "Ooh, this is actually kind of interesting."
Oh, I knew about the Jurassic Park 4, but I've never seen any leaks.
They were a basic plot point of the movie was they were going to genetically engineer half human, half dinosaur soldiers for the military. Why are you laughing,
dude? Are you fucking kidding me?
What?
Jesus
oh my God. The picture that popped up in my head was amazing, because I just picture some like human looking like top, you know, like in an army outfit, but then his bottom legs are like this, you know, but then like the top, oh my God, like running all fast like a raptor. But then
one sketch I saw was the head it looked more of like the dome dinosaurs from Lost World, the ones that got into the ramming position.
Yeah, okay.
It had that head, but it walked upright like a soldier, and I think it had a tail too. That was one of the sketches I saw.
Right.
And it had a gun.
Well, but they did do that then. But then they adapted it and molded it, and he was known as Barney the fucking dinosaur. Man, oh man. Of course, we should have known.
We should have, yeah, we asked for that.
We should have known when Vito was saying it was pretty badass. We should have been like, oh Lord.
Well, needless to say, they took some of that idea because they wanted to weaponize the Velociraptors,
Right.
and that was whole Vince
Thank God they
D'Onofrio's role.
fixed it. Jesus.
Oh my gosh.
I like gene splicing stories when you take stuff and mix them together, and you know, I don't know.
That would have been something. No, I'm sorry, Vito. I am glad that they held off.
They fine-tuned that just a little.
Yeah, because I did like the idea of what they did with the raptors and stuff in Jurassic World, and the fact that they showed that some of them were evolving and really smart, like Blue, and all that. Yeah, great.
Chris Pratt is excellent in that.
I love Chris Pratt.
Bryce
Dallas Howard is really good in that as well. Yeah, it's cast well. Even though a lot of that still borrows, you know, it's like, okay, I feel like some of this is the same story again, but, oh well, you know, that's typical of these franchises, I suppose. But in any case, I mean, I guess you guys already answered, but just to sum it all, I guess we're all in agreement. So we can't do a top 5 because we're not talking about all 5. We're just talking about the original 3. So if we were supposed to go in order from least to the best.
Least to best, okay.
I think we're all in agreement, right, that we're going to say Lost World was the least good.
Yeah.
Jurassic Park 3 was second, and then the best is Jurassic Park, the original.
Yeah.
Yes.
I can't believe for once we are all in agreement.
Small miracle. Oh my God.
Yeah. What the fuck? Yeah. Oh my God. We all agreed on Jurassic Park, and then we agreed on Jurassic Park 3. Oh my God. Sorry. Wait till we talk about the troll movies.
Ooh.
Oh. Vito says, ooh.
The troll movies?
They're fucking horrible. Horrible.
I remember seeing the first one when I was a little kid on TV, and it freaked me out. There was one scene.
Well, granted, yeah.
Yeah. But now you watch, you're like, wait, there's like a fantasy sequence in it. It's just weird.
Horrible.
But Troll 2 is where it's at, dude.
Troll 2 is widely regarded as one of the worst movies of all time.
Yeah.
And that's where I got that oh my God thing from.
There's a documentary called The Best Worst Movie, and it's all about the making of Troll 2. There's a kid actor, and he grew up and he filmed a documentary about the movie he was in, and he revisited all the cast. It's excellent.
I've seen excerpts of it. I've got to see the whole thing.
dude.
I know. I've been waiting.
It's up there with like what's that the fucking Donkey Kong movie.
Oh yeah, King of Kong.
Yeah, dude. It's like up there as far as like
really.
Yeah, man. You would fucking love the shit out of it, man. I guarantee it.
Okay. Well, in any case, thank God. Even as bad as some aspects of Lost World and stuff are, none of them compare to the Troll movies. So
it's a win.
It is all a win. And yeah, I love the Jurassic Park series, man. So I was excited.
I love the video games growing up, dude.
See, yeah, tell us a little bit about that, because
Yeah.
I don't know much about the video games.
Dude, I was really into Sega Genesis, and they had Jurassic
Yeah,
Park
me
for
too.
Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo. And you could play as Alan Grant, and you'd have to go through. It was like a platform where you jump and shoot dinosaurs and collect stuff, or you can play as a fucking Velociraptor.
No shit.
Dude, I loved it.
Now, the only thing that I've heard, is it hard?
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard that it's
very hard.
super hard.
Super hard. And I still am totally obsessed with the Sega CD Jurassic Park game, which was like a half full motion video, half point and click adventure game where you had to go through the island and collect eggs from each species while
I heard
the
about that.
InGen team was coming to take the eggs, and that was
Yeah.
the final levels. You had to fight these guys off to get the eggs off the island.
Right.
Dude, it was so fucking good, man. And you gotta like collect items and figure out clues. It's so good. So damn good.
We should maybe
Sounds
that's
like another Vito's plays
Mm-hmm.
on the way.
I was just gonna say maybe that's something we think about for the future.
Yeah.
We revisit this maybe when we go to talk about the other Jurassic World series. Maybe as a little side thing was we'll play a bunch of the Jurassic video games.
Yeah.
'Cause I've
And there
always
was
wanted to.
an arcade version where you sat in a Jeep and you had a gun and you had to shoot dinosaurs as they came on screen. That was a really fun one too.
Wow. But anyway, yeah, man, I know this is a subject we're going to be revisiting later, you know, because as we said, there's more movies coming out. There's other facets of it to discuss and everything. So I'm going to probably talk about the toys at some point and everything because there's some great toys. And I love dinosaur toys in general. Like, I mean, go figure. I love me some dinosaur toys.
Yeah, we barely touched anything on the audio cast. There's tons more to talk about there, too.
Yeah.
Yep. So, yeah, if you people want to hear more about us talking about dinosaurs and not just talking about like movie dinosaurs, but talking about real dinosaur tales, Megan has a whole lot to say about the Bone Wars. Yeah. And people go, what's the Bone Wars? Well,
you will find out in the audio cast.
Definitely watch and listen to our audio cast. We call it the audio cast because it's, even though it's on YouTube and stuff, it's an audio only with just like a slideshow kind of thing that pertains. So it's still interesting to look at. And yeah, definitely check it out because it's going to be a good one.
Mm-hmm. That was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with that, I don't think we have anything more to say. There's nothing more to say here. We took a nice big bite out of the subject, and hopefully it didn't come out like a big steaming pile of dino poop.
There's one big pile of shit.
And it's one big pile of shit, yeah. But anyway, folks, thank you so much. Make sure you like and subscribe and comment. We want to know more. We'd love to know more about what you guys think of the Jurassic Park series. Did you watch the other sequels? Do you love them as much as Vito does? Or do you kind of feel like me and go, it could be better? Or are you like Meg, who is just like, I just like to see dinosaurs eat people?
You would love the Carnosaur series then, Megan. I'm just saying.
Oh my gosh. It's like, we need a Carnosaur count.
Yeah.
How many times
we should. We should do a Carnosaur
I'll bring
count.
it up
Hopefully there'll be a Carnosaur count on this video and everything. But yeah, Megan's very bitey. She likes to, she's just always biting. If you watch it's the other thing. If you haven't seen our teasers that we made for this, where we reenacted and reimagined some of those scenes, definitely check that out.
Those were a lot of fun.
Yeah, she gets very bitey in those. But anyway, till next time, folks. Use your mandible claw. Is that what it is? The mandible claw?
Toe claw.
Toe claw. Something like mandible claw. I think that's like...
That's like a jaw.
That's wrestling. Yeah, no, that's
a move, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a wrestling move. That's a Mick Foley move. The mandible claw. Yeah. Yeah. Use your toe claw. So toe clawing at you.
Oh,
See y'all later.
See ya.
Bye.
Hey everyone, thanks for checking out the podcast.
Let us know what you think in the comments, as well as Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Please click on the links in the description to follow us, and make sure you hit that subscribe button below.
And if you want to help us out, please check out our Patreon page as well.
We'll be back with more soon.
Thanks.
Holy shit, did we do it?
Yeah, we did it.